Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Well, I hope y'all have recovered from the Bad Bunny Super Bowl. I know my legs are a little sore from all that dancing I did because it was rhythmic. You know, I like my halftime shows with seasoning. It was hot. I loved it. I'm good. I don't speak Spanish, but do I have to speak Spanish to understand what good music sounds like? No. Have you ever been to an opera? Have you ever been to an opera? They usually speak Italian. You know, most people don't speak Italian in America, but they go to the operas. Anyway, Bad Bunny was great. Congratulations to the Seahawks. I didn't have a dog in this fight, but whenever the Patriots lose, I'm always happy. Does that mean? No, they broke my heart too many times. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all that New England lost. All right. Hey, guys, you know I'm always uplifting our young people. Y'all see this over here? The Marion County Young Dems, they're hosting a Black History panel with Black leaders in politics. 6:30 at USW Local 1999. Feel free to jump over to their Facebook page or any of their social media pages to find the correct address. Yo, young people are making it happen, right? And the fact that they are reaching out and trying to put these panels together so that you can hear from Black political leaders during Black History Month is dope. So if you get a chance, get it on your calendar, go over there and check it out. 6:30 Wednesday, February 18th. Oh, yeah, Indiana's own Dana Black is going to be on the panel. But I would be promoting it anyway. I really would. So guys, support young people. They're really working hard to make sure people are plugged in and they have all the information that they need. Congratulations, Marion County Young Dems, on getting it going on. All right, I got a rant. The Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports, starting today, Thursday, February 12th, 2026, the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles will no longer provide customers with the option to change their gender on their Indiana credentials by using a court-ordered gender change or physician's statement. The change comes after an administrative rule process that included 2 public hearings. The BMV posted the new policy over the weekend. In an IYG statement, denying people the ability to update the gender marker on their identification is not only discriminatory, it is dangerous. In an increasingly hostile climate, mismatched identification can expose individuals to harassments, threats, and violence. It can also create serious barriers to employment, housing, and access to essential services. A BMV spokesman said it was notified on January 13th that the rule was received for publishing, giving the agency 30 days to complete any changes needed to assure that the rule change could go into effect properly. A notice about the rule change was posted on the BMV's website on February 3rd. Y'all, listen, I think too many people spend too much time trying to figure out what's in everybody else's pants. Like, what harm does it do to you to allow someone to have the identification they need that fits with who they are inside? I think, for the people who are so down with small government, their government is so small, it fits inside of your trousers, people. It fits inside of your trousers. This level of hate is ridiculous. Misunderstanding is ridiculous because a lot of people out there honestly and truly believe that there are only two genders and that gender is strictly binary. Have you ever heard of intersex people? Have you? Well, what do? If you're intersexed, you may not even know you're intersexed until you try to have children. I know of people like this. But you guys are willing to make people suffer, adding undue stress to individuals who are already living in a stressful situation, having to just want to be their authentic selves. Guys, we've got to do better. And when we show up to vote for people, because we have filled 92 of the 100 seats in the House that are open and all 25 of the Senate seats. So this is where you show up, galvanize, and get out the vote in 2026, because we can make real changes. We can stop this nonsense. Stop attacking the most marginalized humans in our communities. And oh, by the way, there's an anti-bathroom bill that's going through as well. So now you can't even have an ID that correctly identifies who you are. You may actually have the genital police stopping you when you try to go to the bathroom. And I say this once, I say it a gazillion times. I am not trans, but doggone it, I confuse a whole lot of people. I've watched people just stare me up and down when I go to the bathroom because I don't fit what people think a woman should look like. So this is not only going to impact trans people, it's going to impact folks like me who are gender nonconforming. All of this is a whole big old waste of time messing with people and what's in their pants and how they identify. All right. Indiana lawmakers, the Capitol Chronicle also reports, Indiana lawmakers on Monday revisited a controversial provision in Senate Bill 199 that would require state officials to scrutinize and potentially eliminate certain low-wage college degree programs offered at Indiana's public institution. A vote is expected on the bill this week. The Commission for Higher Education would be directed to review programs whose graduates earn median wages below set thresholds, ranging roughly from $24,000 to $35,000, depending on the credential, and take action following additional analysis and public reporting. The bill would operate alongside other ongoing higher education review efforts already underway in Indiana, including recent CHE crackdowns to cut or merge hundreds of low enrollment or duplicative degree programs statewide. The provision prompted concerns from multiple Democrats about limiting student choice. You know, this is the state of school choice, but we want to limit the choice that students have when they go to school. Gotcha. Indiana Secretary of Education Katie Jenner told lawmakers the intent is not to devalue careers, but to ensure families understand the financial outcomes tied to the different post-secondary paths before students can take on significant debt. She emphasized that wage data should be a part of a broader conversation about workforce needs, student debt, and transparency. Representative Tanya Path of Terre Haute pushed back, arguing that earnings should not determine whether programs exist. It's called freedom, she said. The parents and the students get to make that choice. Hey, I'm going to be so-and-so and only make $12,000. That's my choice. I'm going to put $100,000 in my education. It's my choice to be whatever, she said. And then one of my favorite House reps, Representative Ed Delaney of Indianapolis, additionally argued that the state would be overstepping its role by second-guessing universities' academic judgment and students' personal choice, especially in fields that are less lucrative, but still culturally and intellectually important. Again, you guys need to see the pattern with this one. I know you're like, well, what's the big deal? If they're not making money, why should they have this high debt? Well, first of all, we shouldn't be going into crazy debt for higher education anyway. We need to revisit all of that. Second, if you remember, the federal government already declassified certain university programs for FAFSA funding, like nursing and teachers, and saying that they're no longer professionals, all of which, by the way, most of those professions are being held by, you know what, women. They're being held by women. So they've already done that part. Then the state said, we're going to eliminate hundreds of programs or low enrollment programs and consolidate them pretty much at every university except for Purdue. They did this at most state colleges in the state of Indiana except for Purdue. I want y'all to remember that. Not Purdue. But this is what they're doing. And now they're saying they're going to base it on wages. Well, hold on a second. Either I'm free to choose the life that I want for myself and get the education to help me do that, or I'm not. for a state that has worked so diligently to give parents choice about where their kid can go to school and funnel money out of public education to private institutions for parents who are literally never going to send their kid to public school and have the financial resources to send them to private school. We're subsidizing their education. Now they're saying we're not going to allow you to teach these courses that may not, have a huge salary uptick. First of all, that's ridiculous because we already know people with undergraduate degrees, graduate degrees end up earning more money than those who only have high school diplomas on average, right? We also know that unless you go to a trade school and get a trade, if you just have a high school diploma, you will earn less no matter what. So what do you do with those folks? They're still going to have debt because they're not going to be making any money. And so they're still going to want to have a house, a nice place to live. And the cost of living is ridiculous right now. So what are you doing to improve? How is this actually improving people's lives? I'm not understanding any of this. All I'm seeing is that it's taking folks' ability to choose what they want to do with their life. And how about we look at why tuition is so high in the first place instead of eliminating the programs? Come on. Let's cut all of this out. Let people be. The state is really trying to dictate what you become based on how much money and how much tax revenue they can get off of your working behind. I'm just saying. I mean, listen, I read a post today on social media where Rush County schools said that they are going to be bankrupt by 2027 and may have to close the whole school system down in 2029. Rush County, rural Indiana. I need y'all to listen to this urban Democrat because we've been telling you from the very beginning, when you take money from the big pot of public school money and give it to charter schools who are not held accountable to the same standard, to private schools who don't have to admit everybody, or religious schools that force you to understand a certain religion, otherwise you're not accepted, because if you're there, remember, children of queer parents are denied access to certain schools. This is what happens to rural Indiana because you guys are not inundated with charter schools. You're not inundated with private schools. So what happens when you have to do more with less? So now rural county schools are preparing to shut down. Listen to the urban people. We know what we're talking about. And stop voting for people who are looking to defund your public education. You voted for these people. So this is what you get. And I feel bad, but this time you still can change it. We got enough candidates on the ballot. You can change it. And finally, Indy Star reports, as protests against a national immigration crackdown roil across the country and within Indiana, lawmakers are moving to embrace the president's mass deportation campaign with a bill that would punish employers, schools, and local government units who try to undermine the efforts. Senate Bill 76, which was passed by the House with a 60-28 vote on February 12th, would tighten immigration enforcement, penalizing higher education and governmental bodies whose employees refuse to cooperate with the immigration enforcement action, and cracking down on employers who knowingly or intentionally hire undocumented workers. Thanks to the House amendment, proponents say the bill is now more aligned with what White House border czar and bribe taker Tom Homan has called the gold standard of immigration reform. I mean, honestly, why are we following the lead of people who actively on film take bribes? But this is where we are. If the Senate agrees with the new version of the bill, it could be on its way to the governor's desk within days. But that's not a sure thing. The bill has become much stricter since it's initially passed in the Senate. So the legislation would also strengthen Attorney General Tyrikita's quest against so-called sanctuary cities. Y'all know he is the bootlickingest of bootlicking attorney generals. And so he loves to sit around and act like, the Orange Menace is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But my guy, Matt Pierce from Bloomington, says this is going to be our attorney general's path to glory. That's it. He is looking to get on the Trump train, but that Trump train is about to get off the rails. But Attorney General Tyrikita, this him, bootlicker. That's what I'm going to call him because that's nicer than what I really want to call them. I know that Ed Delaney was lobbying and advocating for taking schools out of this. I don't want my college professor to turn over or choose to turn over some student because he doubts their immigration status. I agree with him. Teachers just teach. And then, of course, businesses are already subject to criminal and civil penalties from the federal government if they knowingly hire undocumented immigrants, but employers rarely face consequences. That's because it's difficult to prove intent, especially if the labor is provided through contractors. The Indiana bill adopts similar language, allowing the attorney general to sue an employer if there is probable cause to believe the employer knowingly or intentionally employ undocumented immigrants. If the employer has never previously been found in violation, it can defend itself by proving it used reasonable diligence to determine a person's work eligibility by using Department of Homeland Security's E-Verify. Y'all know these business owners are not finna face no consequences for employing undocumented workers. Y'all know this. They are part of the Epstein class. They're not getting punished. They're gonna keep hiring these people. And honestly, they really need them because there are jobs that we as Americans just don't want to do. And there are people like, yo, I'll come get some of that money. I'll come make it happen. Look at the construction industry. Look at the agro industry. Well, except for the soybean farmers, because they don't need any workers anymore. They lost their market thanks to tariffs. So, guys, there are a lot of bills coming out of our state house that are problematic. I don't know why we're attacking immigrants when we're a nation of immigrants in the way that we are. And honestly, what could possibly go wrong by letting ICE loose in Indiana? I don't know. What's happened in Minneapolis? Did y'all see Pam Bondi yesterday? Y'all should just go ahead and let me with my no law degree having behind be the attorney general. I could have done a better job than her. And that's no lie. This administration is a mess. They know it's a mess. And that is why they ran down to Georgia to try to steal the election by having the Manchurian candidate, Tulsi Gabbard. I told y'all she was the Manchurian candidate when she was on the ballot to run for president as Democrat. Ain't nobody heard of her, and why is she running for president? Manchurian candidate. They are setting things up. This administration is so bad. They are killing people in the streets. They are rounding up American citizens and people who are here legally, who are documented, because they're black and they're brown, and they're mistreating them and locking them up in cages. Some of the facilities are so horrendous. Y'all, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. So 2026, we have the opportunity to show up and show out, especially in our state house. We got candidates up and down the ballot ready to represent you. Get to know them. You can always listen to Turn Left. Get to know them, support them, and let's make some real changes. All right, and we can do it. We just have to be committed to it and make a plan. All right, that's my rant. Let me run some ads.
Now
Democrats, are you looking for an affordable digital content creation solution? Then look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own and Black Pearl Studios have you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl-its.com. All right, guys, listen, reach out to Black Pearl Studios. I mean, some of y'all need some digital content. Y'all running for office. Let me help you out. Yes, I got to make some coins some kind of way. I love doing it. But listen, I got candidates. I get excited when I get candidates. So first up, I like people that take the initiative and do things on their own. You ain't got to prompt them or tell them. They just make it happen. Today, one of my guests just went on out there, found some content that I put out there to let his followers and his supporters know that he was going to be on Turn Left tonight. Yo, I got to love it. Y'all give it up for my first guest, Nate Stout, running for District 38. Wait, is it House or Senate? I forgot. House District 38. Nate, welcome to the show. Say something.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I love it. Okay, now, this man that I'm about to introduce to you, I'm going to be honest with you. Back in 2015, when I was a newbie in Indiana Democratic politics and didn't know anything about nothing, I reached out to Trent Deckard, and we had an hour-long conversation about all the things that I needed to do to get myself ready to run for office. He didn't have to do it. He didn't know me, right? He didn't know me from a man in the moon. But when he did that for me, I know that he's done it for other people around the state. If you just ask. Y'all, one of my dancing partners, whenever I'm down in Bloomington, y'all give it up for my guy, Councilman Trent Deckard, who is running for County Commissioner in Monroe County. Trent, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dana. And I want to correct the record. For a newbie, you sure knew a lot of things and you had more initiative than most. And I'm just so glad it turned out so well that you're such a big voice in our party. So thank you so much.
Now, thank you, because I was nervous. You know, I still had I had all of my self-doubt. I had my imposter syndrome. Here I was, this openly queer woman, and just what was going to happen? How do I don't think people understand the significance of being embraced for who you are. And it's those things that, like, you did that, Congressman Carson did that. There were a lot of people that did it, but you were one of those people that took time out of your evening from your wife and your kids to just talk to this person who was running against Brian Bosma, who we know what was going to happen, right? But you did it anyway. And so I just want to thank you. That's one of those things that stick with me. And I tell any and everybody that will hear it. So thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, was there anything in my rant that you wanted to comment on? Yeah, go for it.
You're hitting home runs with the public education discussion. Behind me, I'm working on some highlights, because one of the things I think is important as candidates is that we educate more than anything and just tell the story of what's happened. So my summary is, in 2011, the voucher program was a targeted test. And over the course of the last 15 years, there is no more target. Anybody can claim it. And it's ballooned from taking about $15 million in general fund education revenue and moved it. We're just under $500 million with a B for 2026. So pretty scary.
Yeah. Come on, Trent.
What hit home with me is just this General Assembly and the folks on the other side. It's more and more every day about picking on people and dividing people and attacking people and turning neighbor against a phantom neighbor that either they've never met or the fear. And in life, when I was a kid, I never liked to be bullied. I never liked to see bullies. I never liked anyone going after the little guy. My dad was an electrical worker. He always talked about Democrats stand up for the little guy. And that's kind of what he knew. And I just feel like more and more the other side's chasing all these phantoms and these horse shows to essentially pick on people, their own citizens. And I think that's abhorrent. I think that, elected official should always be thinking about ways that they're helping, not harming. When they do harm, sometimes accidental things happen. They should correct. But this bunch doesn't have any morals. And it's sad. It's sad. I think things will reverse, but it's going to take our work in 2026. But it makes me sick. It's disgusting.
Man, it is disgusting. And I feel that, there's so many people that I have to talk off a ledge. People don't realize how many phone calls and text messages I get from people from all different types of communities who are like, why is our government doing this? It's
absolutely
terrible. All right, let's get into it. I want to know about y'all. Nate, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Nate Stout, and like you mentioned, I'm running for Indiana House District 38. That covers a lot of territory, so bear with me. But I'm born and raised in Tipton, and Tipton County is one of those areas. Western Howard County, all of Carroll County, a little bit of Cass, Clinton, and Tippecanoe. So I touch or consume 6 counties. And I'm a corporate dad that's seen enough. Public education is so critical. Growing up in a town like Tipton with a great public education system, in those days, you had teachers that were there from elementary on up. A teaching career was upheld and praised, and kind of like what Trent was saying, the nastiness and the lack of respect for people that choose different career paths. I mean, teachers have gotten the raw end of the deal for the last 20 years, and I've had enough. So that's why I'm running for office.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you, you said you're a corporate dad. What does that mean?
Well, I spent the last 20 years, I've worked for some really cool sporting good brands. I've traveled the country. I've worked my way up where the role I just left was managing North America. So I've been able to see a lot, and I keep going back to this expression of this whole thing's an open book test. I don't understand why we aren't systematically looking at every important metric from state to state, see who the leaders are, and figure out why. This idea that there's nothing we can do yet. What I've really learned is how important these state Senate and House seats really are, because in rural districts like I'm from, they don't have any value other than land and water. And we're seeing that right now with rezoning fights and things like that in my district, or near my district anyway.
I love it. Okay, I got to ask a very shallow question. Bro, that hair. Oh my gosh. Yes, you are rocking. Oh my God. I know there's some people out there mad at you.
Well, listen, Dana, I think, first of all, I love you and I love the show. We met several years ago, and I've been a huge fan, but there are a lot of really insecure men running around, and they've been, I don't need any fuel to the fire when it comes, but I was cursed with the hair, I guess.
That's a blessing, boo. You got your hair rocking better than mine. I'm like, man, listen, that coif, baby, it's gonna look good on a poster. So every time you are up at the State House and you're arguing on behalf of Hoosiers, they're gonna be doubly mad. You won your election and you can flip your hair. All right, Trent, tell the people who you are and where you come from. And your hair looks good too, bro.
I'm trying. It's hard to follow. Dana, I'm Trent Deckard. I am from Monroe County, where I've served on the Monroe County Council since 2019. My work in our state has taken me to a lot of great different things. And I'm proud of that. As an 8th-generation Monroe County resident, I'm proud that I take the things I've learned in this great home, Bloomington, Ellettsville, I've been all over this county, that I take these great things and I've done a lot of different public service. I work for former Congressman Barron Hill when he was in office the last time. I ended as his district director. I got to go run the state election division as a co-director, bipartisan co-director, about a decade ago. I did that for about 4.5 years. And then I spent some time as chief of staff for the Indiana House Democratic Caucus. That's where I met you.
Yes, with Scott.
With Scott. I was Scott Pilas, chief of staff. He was a great Democrat leader. But when he said that he was retiring, I said, I've been commuting to Indy and all around and doing that. I want to work in my home. And I went into my second great love beyond my wife, and that is teaching. Oh. And I have been teaching at the Kelley School of Business since 2018. I help students to try to approach public speaking as good as you. Oh. They get to about 10%, and that's doing well. And I help them. I help them with confidence issues. You were talking about imposter syndrome. And really that sets them up for a life where they do kind of what I've done, go from figuring it out to kind of to making sense of things. In the meantime, my community elected me to the county council in 2019. I've been reelected in 2020 and 2024, and I'm taking a crack at commissioner here because I think we need to do a lot of things in Monroe County, and I'm calling it the community of care. We sometimes in this community we take things for granted, Dana. We either have it good or think we have it good, or we kind of rest on that good. And I think our whole public service apparatus at the county level, we need to refresh so that we are not only working with the folks that need access to their government, but we are working with the folks that need access to this community. Mm-hmm. People want to be here, but we're not building enough homes. We're not making enough jobs. And we've got to get to it so that affordability cliff that everyone's seeing everywhere, but they see it hard here where it's hard to secure a home, make enough, that we start managing that more aggressively. And that doesn't mean that we ignore some of the issues that are prevented over the years. It means that we have dialogue through it. I think I'm the candidate that can lead neighbors who I've known all my life, lead neighbors and new people through that discussion. The last thing I'll just say is, as a townie of this area, sometimes people think, well, the townie's never going to be for any change. The irony is I'm what's called a context leader. I can kind of see where things were and then where they're going. And that's my style. And that means that everything here has changed. Mm-hmm. And every time it's changed in Bloomington and Monroe County, it's made it a better place. Mm-hmm. And so we wouldn't have had Herman B. Wells. We wouldn't have had Indiana University. We wouldn't have Showers Brothers Furniture back in the day. I want to restore us to some of that community care where we make it the next best 20 years, 30 years and onward for all of us.
I talked about how programs are getting cut, and there's this target to a lot of liberal arts. A lot of people just want you to do reading, writing, and arithmetic and become labor, right? They're trying to churn out labor, but IU has been hit exceedingly hard. Now, I recognize that is your employer, so I am not looking to make any waves in that instance, but you are a professor there. Yeah. Talk about the sentiments and the feelings that have been going on with like the shutdown of Dunn Meadows and by the way, congratulations on that little national championship.
That was good, really nice, wasn't it?
Some good, but there's a lot of I hear a lot of young folks talking about the Dunn Meadows shutdown and the snipers on the buildings. And as someone who is a townie and knowing that Indiana University has always been a liberal bastion, a place where liberal minds can thrive, how does it feel for you watching the more conservative aspects of our government be heavy-handed about how they're trying to alter and change the culture at IU?
That's an awesome question. I'm happy to kind of tell you a day I had one time. So back in August, I'm getting ready for the semester. And, people think teachers don't work during the summer. We work during the summers. A lot of it's prep for the rest of the year or side teaching that we do or all sorts of things. And I'm working, getting ready for the fall. And I love my students. I always want them to have literally the best of me. And if I go home exhausted, that's good. But I'm sitting there in my office, Dana, and I'm looking at, state requirements on where my syllabus has got to get posted out and how I meet that. And then there's some other requirements with this, and I'm watching the university try to comply with that. And I'm thinking about, oh, I got to go pick up my daughter, and her after school dollars were uncertain because the state had made some decision. And it was one of the first times in my life where I sat there and I thought, the state, the feds, they are between the issues, the consternation, the confusion, the control, the things they were doing in my county council hat with cutting our dollars, kind of stomping on our necks. I said, my God, I can't get the state and the feds off my back. And it's awful. And it's, I have the privilege of serving on our Bloomington faculty council. And for us, our fear is, look, I know people have disagreements, and in my classroom they can talk about that. But just the general consternation has hit the campus so hard, and the fear for certain individuals on the campus, it's wide ranging. The other day in the faculty council, we had a resolution that just said simply, ICE coming onto the campus to do a job fair, we don't want you here because we don't want our students, if they want to go seek that job, that's fine, but we don't want you here with your bad practices, the unsafe conditions for both resident and agent and everything else. Go fix it, Mr. President, and then make another play for it. So we voted for that. And I have to tell you, I've been in county votes, I've been in faculty council votes, I've been a voter myself. It's one of the proudest votes of my life. Because again, I hate this notion of turning good people on each other for no reason and picking on people. And so this picking on culture it's destroying, it's killing people, it's destroying lives. And that gets me mad. And we'll work through all this. We will get to another side because I trust voters to reconcile this. But it's just all that has happened is like this giant smog that just it never leaves.
Nate, I wondered if you had any comments on that, because that's I've talked to young people all over the state who are either graduates or still enrolled at IU, and you certainly must have some of those students in your district. Have you thought about how there was just a targeted attack on IU and other public school institutions, except for Purdue? I just want to be clear. Purdue's good.
Well, there's an ally up there, I think, and that might be part of that. I haven't talked about it much in my district as it relates to the culture at IU right now. And I have heard, I take that back. I'm a Rotarian, and there's a distinguished women organization that presented to the Rotary this morning. And I actually sat next to a young lady who said she's going to IU Bloomington, which, by the way, when did they start calling it IU Bloom?
When they had IU Indianapolis, because, we didn't want to, we didn't want the big city to drown out IU Bloomington,
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I went to Bloomington from 01 to 2-3-ish. I was there for 2 years. But, the comment that was made was that, number one, having the state controlling the board is wild. And then it kind of segues back into public education, because I need to do a little bit more digging. But she said that certain diplomas, high school diplomas, when we move to this new pathways thing, that we're going to have less universities accepting a state of Indiana high school diploma. I don't know if you guys heard anything about that.
Oh God, yes. I talked about it a lot last cycle.
Okay. So it's bananas. So yeah, it's an issue for sure. That my opinion is IU is such a great place. I love my time there, and we went through protests, right? I was at IU when 9/11 happened. Frankly, kind of melted my brain for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie. But we got to protect the liberal institutions, because people that are discriminatory and are hateful, it comes from a lack of understanding and a lack of exposure. And they just can't comprehend that the creative people are going to be different. They're going to want to look different. They're going to dress different. I can't believe that I'm almost 45 years old, and we're still hand-holding people that just don't give base level respect to people as fellow Hoosiers and fellow Americans. That's beyond me.
Well, I'm 55,
Sorry.
so guess how I feel.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Because in the 80s, when y'all was babies and I was a teenager, like we had MTV. We was listening to everybody's different music. We was hanging out, but we didn't understand at the time. And I'll be honest, I didn't understand at the time what was going on. I was very fortunate in where I was growing up, and that I had two parents that were, managing my household and managing expectations for me. And like, there was no drama, like there was nothing so I didn't realize until I became an adult how incredibly lucky I was to have the youth that I had. I could just be a kid, right? And make dumb mistakes, right? But everyone doesn't get that, and I'm thinking about ICE right now. So, you guys could, when you win your elections, you guys could have direct impact on the role of ICE in our communities. One, from the State House perspective on what rules that you will allow to happen, and then as in the county, so the county commissioner, I want you to explain to people what the commissioner is so they understand what that means. You will have direct say in how the county responds to ICE. I mean, my God, we have seen how these J6ers are now ICErs and are doing all of these awful things to fellow citizens. Talk to us first, Trent, about what it is to be commissioner and how you view our state house basically pushing with this legislation ICE on us.
Well, it's first of all, for folks that are struggling with what is a commissioner, what's the difference between a commissioner and a county council member, or any of that, that would be very normal to struggle with that. A commissioner is essentially the executive and legislative branch of county government, along with a whole lot of other officers that are either additional executives fulfilling a role, like the sheriff's in charge of the deputies in the jail, or the assessors in charge of assessment of property. And so you serve alongside those individuals. You got a county council, which is where I serve now, and they're the fiscal body. Mm-hmm. So all the values of the county get funded through that budget that gets adopted. And then commissioners, they set your ordinance, they decide what homes get built, how roads are handled. And in emergency times, like, the recent snowstorm we have, or something else, they work to be that executive function, either making sure roads are cleared, or people are treated, getting treatment that they need, getting out of their homes, et cetera. So that's kind of the background of that. There's probably a whole lot more you could throw in, but they make things happen. And it's a big role and a big responsibility to do it. As far as the state kind of shoving down our throats, ICE requirements and additional requirements, this is par for the course with those folks up there. I sometimes sit in county council meetings where I look at my revenue streams, which are dictated by the state. The state tells you when you can either tax or use revenue or set your budget. And if you're off a day or you do it wrong, they won't let you do it. Meanwhile, they could, be like Congress. Congress, I think they're getting ready to expire tomorrow night on their budget. But they can just keep pushing that back or kicking the can. Locals can't. And what I noticed more and more, Dana, the state increasingly says, here's how you're going to do it. And most of these are unfunded mandates. And we really want you to do it well. So I'm not shocked by anything where they would say, here's what your requirements would be. Here's who you're going to assist. And I'm proud to say that in Monroe County, we got a great sheriff, Ruben Marte. He's been a target of Todd Rokita on and off for the years. I think there's still pending litigation that I probably shouldn't talk about. But the sheriff is strong in protecting civil liberties. And I think if someone doesn't stand up for people, like a friend of mine was saying this morning, they're going to come for all of us.
Oh, baby.
Because there's always a reason. And, I don't want to get people too alarmed, but now would be the time to start getting alarmed, because a lot of us grew up during that MTV era reading history books about places where going after people, segregating people, and the United States has not got a clean bill of health on any of that. But in recent history, we've had this lesson before.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of shocks me is the people that just sort of ignore that. And look, I know lives are busy, but ultimately, for a leader like me locally, it comes to me saying, you know what, DHS, this is not your mandate.
Mm.
And this is not what we're going to do. And it may mean that some of us local officials, we kind of have to stand at the gate, and we have to stand for those who cannot stand for themselves or are being targeted. And I think that's a challenge to us. Now, my hope is the voters start correcting this. And the polls are telling me they've had enough. I'm hearing calls. They've had enough. And the response to my vote for the resolution against ICE being on that IU campus has been so robust. And I am thinking that we're getting there. But again, voters, don't take it for granted and watch those ballot boxes carefully.
Watch those ballot boxes. Nate, jump in there, brother. Nate?
Yeah, it's scary. And, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's really scary, and there are many dead canaries in the coal mine. I talked, I'm in a rural district, had lunch at a local restaurant that's really nice up in Michigan Town, and the waitress, she's a dreamer, and she doesn't have any relationship with her family back in Mexico other than her grandmother. And just because of the bullying that her 10-year-old son is receiving at school, she's self-deporting in March. So we got a small business that's going to lose a really good employee. You have, this bullying nature and this punching down, like, it has to stop. And, we all know as Democrats, I actually had a guy, very far right of center, come to a town hall and, sit in the back, and, he's made a threat to me before. You're right, Trent. Like, they won't stop. They want complete control over everything. And what's amazing to me is I think people are really starting to see this come out in economic development. Howard County is getting ready to annex 700 acres. IEDC owns half of the parcel, by the way. So I'm sure that's all on the up and up. But
that was me laughing, because we know that organization is all about kickbacks and payoffs. So,
and look, the whole reason the game is like this is because we don't have the right rules. We had commissioners that were also real estate agents that people are always suspicious about that. And people are realizing that once you've rezoned something, it's gone. And Indianapolis does not care about the environment. We are purely looked at as acreage and water. I really believe that. And we're paying it, again, it's all connected, this control. And we got to unite because, I don't know. It's very, it's a scary time, no doubt.
One of the things that Michelle Higgs, who's over the Rural Summit, talked about when she came on the show was how they layer bills. And so you said something that was incredible. You said that, they care about, all they care about is that it's land and water. You can trace this all the way back when they wanted to reclassify the wetlands. Right. And how all of these bills have been stacked on top of each other. And then in 2019, they changed the data center thing. And like now you're seeing where I struggle with this, that people are willing to say your drinking water, we will give it up to cool machines. Now, as I always do, full disclosure, I'm a techie. I like technology. But I don't like it at the expense of humanity. And if you guys are smart enough to create a tool as magnificent as AI, then you also should be smart enough to create a mechanism, right, so that you're not harming the humans who would actually use it. So the IEDC, again, Representative Delaney, he's been calling for them to open their books up for a while now. He's like, yeah, you guys did your investigation, but you didn't show us nothing, right? You just keep it. And this type of corruption is only going to hurt people. Like, this is the robber baron days. This is when, we was locking people in textile mills and they would burn. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right, I got to get back to you guys and your campaigns because this is so important. But the cool thing is that both, even though you're at different levels of government, one is in the state house, one is at the county, you both would be in the position to write ordinances or bills that impact lives. As you think about your campaign and you've been talking to people, give us 3 examples of pieces of legislation or ordinance, and I'm gonna start with you, Nate, that you would like to see, that you would like to either introduce or be a co-sponsor on in the State House.
Public education is my number one priority, and certainly sponsoring legislation to get rid of the voucher system, or at least turn it back to the targeted approach it was supposed to be back in 2011. But I want to take it even further because as I'm talking to people, especially talking to teachers know a lot about a lot, obviously. And there are so many controls. So not only are they losing money year over year with the voucher program, but they're also being asked, they're also being treated so poorly in the public sphere. They're like, oh, look at them. They're wasting all that money. That's a school district. They're wasting their money. But all of how you spend money in the school district is determined by the state, or most of it. All of the state fundings have red tape. So I would like to look into writing legislation that would allow the local school districts to have more control over their budgets annually. We have to find ways to attract teachers that want to make a career out of teaching. Tipton High School is a classic example of, Tipton in general, they have fewer people in Tipton County than they did in 1900. Wow. That's not a great sign. The high school, they're going to lose about, PBS did a study, it was like $700,000 over the next 3 years because of these cuts. And I want people to understand that these school districts are only doing things based in the guidelines of what they're being told in Indianapolis. And how do they know the district? They don't. We should make local decisions and local control instead of consolidating everything in Indianapolis. That's my number one.
Okay. And now there's no PBS, so you wouldn't have that study anymore.
Yeah. The other 2 things that I'm running on, access to healthcare in rural Indiana is becoming more and more difficult. Hospital consolidations, and you mentioned Michelle Higgs. I want to give her a shout out too. I'm a proud member of the Rural Summit, a nonpartisan group that is bound and determined to share great ideas across these rural communities, because we're going to have to be creative in how we solve some of these problems. And by connecting similar communities, we have a lot better chance of writing something that will get some momentum, because everyone will be talking the same language. So I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, where I feel like I can add the most impact is I want to change how we go about our economic development. There needs to be transparency clauses in all of these projects. And more importantly, and you understand the business, Dana, these guys are whale hunters. They want to have these headline grabbing, multi-million dollar, they love being able to say $10 billion investment. I watched it's so gross. What I would like to see happen is more targeted investment specific to the communities that you're representing. Places like Tipton, places like Flora, Burlington, Delphi, they all have a lot of good bones. And we just abandon and go build new. And that's, to me, irresponsible. And it's not what's going to, hopefully return these communities back to what they once were. And Trent, being a business guy yourself, don't you feel like, based on where technology has come and the barriers to entry for starting your own business, they've come down significantly. How do you feel about rural entrepreneurship and economic development, as I kind of explained it there?
Nate, the state and localities should be doing everything possible to attract the person that can literally work anywhere in their community with the right infrastructure, can work in that community and be remote, travel as needed, or what have you. But I feel like sometimes the state doesn't think about that, or they're not even thinking about attracting people. They think about bullying people or dividing people. And people are going to go and live where they're welcome, their family's welcome, all those things. And I just feel like we're paying a price, and we're going to pay a larger price down the road for all this, and lost opportunity, where we lose folks like you, lose folks like the ones I teach, you name it.
And that's interesting, though, as I'm listening to Nate, you talk about how you feel like the state is being heavy-handed in these localities and these municipalities. That's what we're saying here in Indianapolis, too. Like, they literally are taking over IPS. They created a whole new sport, because at one point IPS was the largest public school system. There was a lot of revenue dollars going in there. They siphoned out all the dollars, and now they're literally taking away the school board's ability to govern, the people that we elected. Mm-hmm. And we thought, and I'm gonna be honest with you, for a long time, I was like, man, they're coming after us because we're a Democratic city. And we are, we're 30% African American. And it's just a way to exploit us, because all the people that were making the decisions about what happened in Indianapolis are outside of Indianapolis, right? They're living in rural Montgomery County or Kosciuszko County or whatever. But what I'm hearing from you is, and it's actually a revelation, so thank you for sharing, the same policies that they are using to attack Indianapolis are having negative impacts on rural Indiana as well. And
absolutely,
we are not the ones actually voting for these people. All of the folks from Indianapolis, with the exception of some of the South Side people, are Democrats, from the Senate to the House. We're sending Democrats to the State House. But the people from Montgomery County and Vigo County and all these other counties, Scott County, are voting on policies that target us, because here's the other thing. We know in Indianapolis that we are the economic engine for this entire state. And we know we have a super majority of Democrats running our municipalities. So every time a Republican on the city county council can't get what they want, they run to the state house where they got a super majority and say, we want to do something in Indianapolis. Can you write like what? Either you in the state, or you doing no more local control. And we've seen it over and over again. But what I find is interesting is you explaining it the way that you did, that even though their intent is to target and gain control of the economic engine of the state, it is actually causing more harm to our rural communities. That was so insightful, Nate. I wanna thank you for sharing that. Like, I gotta rethink some things and how I approach it with that assessment. Trent, go ahead, Nate.
No,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've been in sales most of my career, and I know sometimes people have a weird feeling about the term sales, but my success has come from reframing the discussion and focusing on the benefits of whatever you're trying to do. And, we're dealing with a lot of very emotional men. I've dealt with them personally. We're talking to them on the phone. And the reason the Democratic areas are the economic engines is because they know the behavior, the exclusionary behavior, and this whole, bully type approach, that doesn't get you very far in business. But they've had the luxury, of some of these legacy industries that give them a lot of power and a lot of money. But people are waking up. And I want to say this too, because I don't know if any rural Republicans will watch this, but we saw with redistricting that there aren't as many extreme folks as in other states, right? As we thought. And I talked to a lot of them, people that claim to be Democrats, and a lot of them are registered Republicans in rural Indiana, because they never have a dog in the hunt. Like, they have had a clean, no competition run in rural Indiana. I say that, I apologize. They have had some competition, but they just overwhelmingly have just, had this, they've monopolized power for 20 years. And what do we have to show for it?
Yeah, schools shutting down. The economic or the demographics are shifting because people aren't necessarily leaving small town Indiana to go to different states. They're leaving small town Indiana to come to Indianapolis or to go to Bloomington. They're not leaving to go to other states. So these other counties and these other smaller places are relying on, guess what? The 30% black city to fund what they're lacking in tax revenue. They can't stand us, but they sure like our green. They may not like the black, but they like the green.
They have no problem celebrating things like the NFL Combine, the NCAA basketball tournament when it comes through town. And it just boggles my mind how rural conservatives sometimes will, Indianapolis. If we didn't have Indianapolis, we wouldn't have anything. And you're exactly right. A lot of my friends, I happen to live in the country because I'm a country guy. Mm-hmm. I grew up here. I like the peacefulness. I like the lack of light pollution. But most of my buddies live in Zionsville, Hamilton County, because they had to go where the opportunities were, but they wanted to, at the end of the day, people do like staying around their family if they can. But we give them very little opportunity to do that in the areas they grow up.
That is so true. All right, Trent, you're a townie, you a homer, you bleed Monroe County. So talk about the bills that the ordinances in your instance that you want to introduce in Monroe County.
Well, one of the things I'll just say is I firmly believe, I've worked in federal, state, local government. I think local government gets it best. We may not do it in the best way, but we figure it out. We work well under a timeline. And so there's three kind of big areas that I really think we've got to focus on, because this is a place, Monroe County, Bloomington, Ellettsville, this is a place where people want to be. They want to come here. They like the fact that this is a community that we respect you. We love you, regardless of your life experience, who you love. The things that may make you different, we try to embrace that. We don't always get it right, but we work hard to try to embrace that. And so my first big thing is, how do we make this a place through jobs, through homes, through affordability? How do we make this a place where more people not only come to visit, but they come here to live, and they come here to pursue their goals towards happiness or family, or I want to be near this, that, or the other. Y'all were talking just a second ago about how legislators will kind of mock an Indy or a Bloomington, and then they'll be at our sports games, right? Or they come to our concerts. People want to be here. Even the Republicans, they want to be here. And so how do we make homes for them? And I think that, look, there are folks that in my district, I'm at large as a county council member. I'd be a represented district, but elected at large as a commissioner. There's folks that care about the environment, climate change, environmental resilience. But I believe that we can walk and chew gum at the same time through local government, having conversations, leading dialogue. What makes you nervous about this development? What could we do to address this? I think you need a elected official like me that thinks about those things and does it. So that's the first thing. Second big thing is we've got to get smarter because of the loss of healthcare, changes to healthcare, unaffordability of healthcare. We've got to get smarter with health in all policies. And health in all policies is a concept that you literally, as a body, you make a decision, and every decision you make, you say, how does this affect the health and well-being of my people? You put in a trail, you think, well, this is going to help them, right? But does it cause consternation on the other side for someone's health or well-being? And you actually weigh that concept. One of the biggest things I notice is access to food. People's distance to food, believe it or not, in Bloomington, we can get a little bit of food deserting going on. Some of our rural portions of the community, definitely food deserting going on. And you don't often hear that with rural, but it's a reality. So how does health affect us? How does the closure of rural hospitals, which has put pressure on our two hospitals, IU Health and Monroe? I mean, we're now a regional hub, and I heard about this morning from a constituent really angry. how do we get health and all policies figured out so that folks know what we've got, they get better information to kind of get there. And look, here's the last thing, and this one's near and dear to me. I have learned over the years that any politician that says, here's my plan, here's what we're going to do, that it often doesn't turn out that way. And so I believe that collaboration first choices or collaboration first principles really have to exist. And so I've modeled that my entire time. And what I think in the, my community, we have a county, city, town, township divide. I think we got to get rid of all that. We've got to have folks at the city and the county and the townships looking at things that say, how we've got, houselessness, homelessness, how do we address that? Do we need to bring our state partners in, DNR, and say, regionally, what do we need to be doing here? Because a community can't support all these resources, but a lot of people could figure it out. And so we've got to get past these turf wars, because Indianapolis, or the General Assembly, I should say, they love to divide us. City versus town, town versus township, township versus everybody's schools. I mean, literally, they said with these cuts in SEA 1, they said with those cuts, now if a county council wants, while you're dealing with your cuts, you could start funding your school system. Anybody in local government knows that you can't cut a penny, particularly when it's been banned, you can't cut a penny 5 ways. And so we've got to get smarter. We got to out hustle them. If we get Nate up there and a whole lot of his friends, and I want to give a shout out to Michelle Higgs, one of our finest, our community daughters. If we get those folks in there, we will have a reasonable day. And I think the voters are so mad that they're going to put a lot of people like Nate Stout into office come election day. And I pray for that. I'm ready for that.
Guys, can I just say this? And I talk a lot and my shows run long, but I made the error yesterday of watching Pam Bondi in the hearing, and I think my brain broke. It might have kind of melted, I think, because of the level of stupid. Can I just say thank you to you two for bringing intelligence back to my brain? It feels healed today. And guys, look, I hope that you are getting all this positive energy from both Nate and Trent, that you consider donating to their campaigns. Please click the link that's in the live feed, and or when you're on YouTube or Spotify, click the link, donate to these candidates. I love it when candidates talk about they are grassroots and they about a grassroots campaign. But let's be real. If you want to reach your constituents, if you want to reach your voters, you have to have cash to be able to use the tools that allow you to connect with the people. Okay, so donate to these candidates. They may not need as much as somebody running for Congress, but whatever you have, or maybe become a recurring donor. Can you become a $10 monthly recurring donor? Please donate to these gentlemen. I'm so happy to have had this healing moment, because Pam Bondi broke me yesterday. She broke me. Guys, Nate, tell the people where they can find you.
So I feel so blessed that my district is 38. I'm originally in Nathaniel, but Warren G and Nate Dogg turned me into a Nate a long time ago. So Nate for 38, if you Google Nate for 38, all of my stuff comes up. But I actually, my website is HoosiersToElectNateStout.com. I know that's a mouthful, but I am committed to staying in this fight. It's a severely red district. Again, we don't really know all the details, but we know what we need to do to win. And if important, we have rejected great ideas because of party, and we have got to go back to the best idea wins, and we got to keep trying, we got to keep talking, we got to keep reframing we got to convince them. We know force doesn't work, but continually trying and bringing them to the table and framing it in a different way, that's what I'm going to do this whole year and give it my best shot.
And do you have any events coming up or any volunteer opportunities for folks?
Yeah, so we actually, we had my campaign kickoff a couple of weeks ago, but we are actively recruiting volunteers, doing most of that through social. And now that we are van approved, we're going to start doing a lot of phone banking. And yes, all of my events are going to be posted on every platform: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
And make sure that you hit me up so I can talk to you about whatever phone banking tool that you are using. I know a company that has such said tool, so you should definitely reach out to me. Y'all know I love my job. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I love my gig. Trent, tell the people where they can find you.
They can get me a few different ways. First, you can go to TrentDeckard.com. You see a big logo that says our friend Trent Deckard, you are definitely in the right place. Go to TrentDeckard.com. You can drop me a line through there. You can also write to TrentRDeckard@gmail.com. TrentRDeckard@gmail.com. We take volunteers. We knock doors. That's how I kind of got my start in politics.
Me too.
On doors, sweating and meeting people that like me. And sometimes when the van hadn't been updated quite right, meeting people that didn't like as much. And then other thing, look for me on Facebook. We've got Trent Deckard for Monroe County Commissioner there as well. Follow me. Give me a follow. And if anyone's down in Bloomington, Monroe County, Eltsville, any of our beautiful towns, I will be glad to hang out with you. We'll get together and we'll go make some good trouble together.
All right. Do you have any events coming up or volunteer opportunities?
We just kicked off last Sunday, but we loved it so much we're gonna do it again. So if you follow my page, watch for that. We're gonna do an even bigger one. I've got 9 campaign co-chairs. I went excessive, and they're putting me to work. So watch for lots of events to get popping up, door knocking, and good fun.
Guys, this was great. I am healed from my bondage. Why did I do that? Anyway, guys, y'all were so wonderful. I could talk to y'all all night, but I imagine people don't want a 2-hour podcast. Nate, great hair. I don't care. I know it's shallow. It's great hair. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. I enjoy seeing you again, and I love the salt and pepper. You got it going on. I know that typically only women are objectified. I don't mean to objectify you, but I just like your look. I think your look looks great, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying as long as I keep my hands to myself. Trent Deckard, you are my brother, and I love you to death. So thank you so much for gracing me and joining me on Turn Left. I wish both of you the best of luck in your campaigns, and always know the Indiana Zone is here when you need some help. But don't hang up just yet. Guys, that's what it sounds like when you talk to people where the engine inside their little brains just go choo-choo and they keep moving forward. Like the electrons and the neurons is all working. Not that mess we saw yesterday, because I know I'm not the only one that saw that. But as y'all know, it is Black History Month. So first of all, before I go, I want to address something. We know that the Orange Menace is a racist idiot. We know this. And we know that he is willing to post anything negative about Black and brown people. He even found chicken shit ass Stephen Miller, who is afraid of sidewalk chalk, to try to, whiteify America with his deportation and the scrubbing of African American history from our books. So the fact that he posted images of the first Black president and the first Black lady as apes is not a surprise. The fact that y'all talking about like we just need to see it. Did you really need to see it? We told you who he was. You didn't believe us. It's the same thing that's happening with the survivors of the Epstein files. Y'all need to see the Epstein files, but y'all not listening to the ladies that have survived that mess. Why? Ask yourself that. So when y'all were out there reposting that image over and over and over again because y'all needed to see it, you didn't even think about how it made us feel. You centered yourself in our trauma. I just want to say that because no, this isn't the same thing as Emmett Till. Not in my opinion. You have your own. But to see that image over and over again show up in my feed, oh my God. How many more times do I have to be reminded that there are so many Americans who believe that I am subhuman? Luckily for me, I really don't give a crap about what they think of me because I'm typically smarter than them anyway and make more money. That's what it's all about for them anyhow, right? And my girlfriend's prettier most times. You know what I'm saying? My girlfriend prettier than theirs. So I'm good. But it's still traumatizing. So, you know, me on Black History Month, I'm going to bring some positive Black history to you. Today, we are going to talk about Edith Irby Jones, born 1927 and passed away 2019. Edith Irby Jones was a pioneering American physician and a trailblazer in both medicine and civil rights. She achieved numerous historic firsts throughout her life. She was the first woman to serve as president of the National Medical Association and a founding member of the Association of Black Cardiologists. Among her many accolades, Dr. Jones was inducted into the University of Arkansas College Medicine Hall of Fame and the inaugural class of Arkansas Women's Hall of Fame. Jones broke barriers in medical education, becoming the first African-American admitted as a non-segregated student to the University of Arkansas for medical sciences in 1948. She was also the first African-American to graduate from a Southern medical school, the first Black intern in the state of Arkansas, and later the first Black intern at Baylor College of Medicine in Texas. Born on December 23rd, 1927, near Conway in Faulkner County, Arkansas, Jones was the daughter of Maddie and Robert Irby Jones. Her father died when she was 8, and she lost a sister to typhoid fever when she was 12. She herself suffered from rheumatic fever as a child. These traumatic experiences inspired her to pursue a career in medicine. Jones's family later relocated to Hot Springs, Arkansas, where she attended Langston Secondary School, graduating in 1944. She then attended Knoxville College in Knoxville, Tennessee, on a scholarship. There, she joined the Alpha Kappa Mu Honor Society and was initiated into Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She graduated cum laude with a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry and minor in Biology and Physics in 1948. Later in 1948, Jones was admitted to the University of Arkansas Medical School in Little Rock, Arkansas, becoming the first African-American accepted to any medical school in the southern United States, just 7 months after Silas Herbert Hunt integrated the University of Arkansas School of Law. Her admission made national headlines, appearing in The Crisis, Life, Ebony, and Time magazines. Despite her groundbreaking admission, she had faced significant racial discrimination, including being forced to use segregated facilities for dining and housing. Nevertheless, in 1952, she earned her Doctor of Medicine degree and began an internship at the University Hospital in Little Rock, becoming the first African-American to complete a residency in an Arkansas hospital. Jones briefly practiced medicine in Hot Springs, Arkansas, before relocating with her family to Houston, Texas. In 1959, she became the first Black woman intern at a Baylor College of Medicine affiliated hospital. She completed the final months of her residency at Freedman's Hospital in Washington, D.C. In 1962, Jones opened a private practice in Houston's Third Ward. Her influence continued to grow, and in 1975, she became the first woman to chair the Council of Scientific Assembly for the National Medicine Association, the largest organization of Black physicians in the United States. In 1985, she was elected the first woman president of the association. In 1997, Edith Irby Jones MD Hospital was opened in her honor in Houston. Throughout her life, she received numerous awards, including honorary doctorates from Knoxville College, Missouri Valley College, and others. Dr. Jones passed away July 15, 2019 in Houston, Texas at the age of 91. She was married to James B. Jones in 1948, and the couple had 3 children together. See, let me tell y'all something. It don't matter how many obstacles you put in our way, we will find a way to succeed. It doesn't matter how you equate us to subhumans, we will outperform you every time. Challenge accepted. See, everything that this nation has put on us to keep us down, we have examples of how we have risen above. Sure, we still have systemic issues that we need to work on, but trust, know, and believe, if ever we are given the equal opportunity to excel in this nation like every other person, we will have more success stories. We will have way more success stories like Miss Jones, Miss Edith Irby Jones. Y'all, that's my show for tonight. I have more guests coming on, so make sure you follow, like, tune in, subscribe, all the things so that you can hear about the candidates up and down our state and the great work they're doing, hear their views, their understandings. Also, make sure you tune into my special, Running for Congress 2026, where I'm highlighting all the candidates who are running for Congress. And if you are a candidate who is running for office and you have never had any formal training on how to run for office, on February 28th up in Westfield, the Indiana Democratic Party, in partnership with the Hamilton County Democratic Party, in partnership with IDAC Indy, we are hosting a candidate training. This is an all-day training. We're going to provide you with the tools that you need, not just the digital tools, but all the things you need to understand to run a successful campaign. So go to Mobilize, look for it, get signed up so that everyone knows who's coming and has all the information about where you need to be. Something else I want to share with you. Guys, the whole goal of Turn Left is to bring you the information that you need. I sometimes will read stuff on social media and I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. If you have something that you want us to talk about on Turn Left, send it to me, dana@indianazone.com. Yes, dana@indianazone.com. I'll be more than happy to research that article, that subject, and we'll talk about it. So listen, we are trying to bring you the information because we want you to be more informed voters. And then go out there and talk to your people that may not have been Democrats before, bring them in. We also have a lot of other voices in the community. Make sure you have them follow Gary Snyder and Mark Gavard and my guy Miguel Hampton down in Clark County. There's voices all over Indiana that are trying to bring you this left to center content. Okay, let's get people engaged. Let's get them motivated because we have a lot of work to do. All right. Until next time, I'll holla. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorianin 22 from Pixabay.